morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
Last week, the fine cowboy singer and songwriter from Oklahoma, Kevin Davis, shared his thoughts on ranch work and music, and this week he's back to talk about his very favorite subject, and that is good ranch horses.
The more you ride, the more you're on them horses, the better it is for you, and the better it is for them, and you'll get better just like they will.
Baxter Black has the true story of every industry vet's nightmare. A producer meeting in the middle of a busy restaurant and nobody pays attention.
Well, some of these meetings go well, and others prove that masochism builds character.
Among other things on the Rangeland News, this week we'll look at the price you might be paying for grass cattle in the spring and what you might get for calves in the fall.
We are anticipating prices to be under pressure.
And I think you'll really enjoy this week's piece of cowboy poetry.
They say cowboy's in your blood, and for some of us that's true, but I've seen hands graft onto it and make good punchers through and through.
On the Irvine Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a common problem, a horse that won't stand still when you try to get on. And we have a great classic song of the West this week and some real interesting information about where the song came from. And Kevin Davis talks about his favorite subject, ranch horses, right after another one of his fine songs.
They set up a catch pen on the north end of the pasture, gathered up the herd and pushed them all inside. A young boy climbed up on the gate and looked over their capture and said, "Dad, there ain't a head in here that I can't ride." That's mighty big talk from such a little man. Are you sure you think you got the stuff? He said, "I'm 12 years old now, I ain't scared of nothing. You bet your bottom dollar that I'm darn sure tough enough." So they tried to break him of the habit long before the habit ever starts. His daddy knows bull riding ain't no way to make a living, and he'd find something else to do if he was smart. 'Cause it'll get inside your soul and in your heart. When they finished doing all the work they came to do, the boy still had that look in his eyes. His dad said, "Get your rope, son, we'll tie you on, and let's see just how bad you want to ride." They tied him on and turned him loose, and he rode just like a champion. He's still doing it today. 'Cause that was 10 years ago when that boy made a champion. He's riding at the finals, top 15 BRCA. But they tried to break him of the habit long before the habit ever starts. His daddy knows bull riding ain't no way to make a living, and he'd find something else to do if he was smart. If it'll get inside your soul and in your heart. It'll get inside of your soul and in your heart.
A neat song from Kevin Davis about a young cowboy who was convinced to switch from bulls to broncs. And as you know, there is bronc riding, and then there's ranch bronc riding, right, Kevin?
That's another neat deal that's going on down there in our part of the country is that ranch bronc riding has gotten so big, it's just unbelievable. Shoot, you will have 20 ranch bronc riders each night, and it's great.
These ranch rodeos are something that's just becoming so popular, all the way from Amarillo, the WRCA World Championships, and we've been trying to send a Canadian team down from a sanctioned rodeo, but we found out that because of the weather change and the difference in climate at that time of year. I think it's November, isn't it, in San Antonio? Well, that's just the tail end of the fall gather when everybody's busy here, and everybody kind of wants to take their best horses. Well, they're haired right up for winter. They're used to it being 20 below, and they get down there to Amarillo, and it's a long haul, and it's just not really fair to them. So we thought, we just support it every way we can, but we're going to try and get our own Canadian finals ranch rodeo going, and we do a big one in Edmonton and one in High River. But what I love is the general public comes out and they see these proud working cowboys and gals riding for the brand with so much pride in their gear, in their horses, in the way they do the job. And this is a chance for everybody to understand just what an art form working livestock properly is, so it's neat to see that this is going on all over it. But the bronc riding, man, that's wild, stock saddle, and these broncs can really fire, and boy, it's a wonder some of these guys don't split their pelvis when they come down.
Harry Vold has the stock down there, the bucking stock, and boy, he brings some good stuff down there. They have a bronc riding along with the ranch rodeo. I mean, they have that bronc riding too, but they have a bronc riding that you pay entry fee to get in there, and I think it pays first place $4,000 for that thing. And they got boys from Arizona comes out to it or what all. But that ranch rodeo deal, it is getting big. And the best thing about that is, like you say, everybody wants to show their top-notch stuff, and it's making everybody have better horses. You bet. I really believe that.
Coming up, you'll hear a song from one of Kevin's favorite singers when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The music of Luke Reed has had a huge influence on many Western singers, among them the great Red Steagall. Luke taught agriculture in Oklahoma, Tennessee, New Mexico, and now in Texas. And while he was in New Mexico, he developed a horsemanship program for at-risk Native youth, and it taught the kids the proper care of livestock, and it not only benefited the animals, but it enriched a lot of their lives as well. As a songwriter, his hard work has been rewarded with major publishing company contacts and cuts recorded by such country greats as George Strait, Hank Thompson, and Johnny Bush, as well as Western artists Michael Martin Murphey, Red Steagall, Don Edwards, Riders in the Sky, and many more. In a couple of weeks, in fact, Luke Reed will be appearing at the 31st Annual Texas Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and Kevin Davis has known Luke for a long time.
He got hired on right out of college as the ag teacher there in the little town I'm from, and him and my dad hit it off, and we've been friends ever since. And Luke is an incredible talent, songwriter, singer. He, in my mind, is the best cowboy songwriter going. I mean, that's just, I don't care who's in the mix. He's the cream of the crop.
And there's just something special, distinctive, unique about a Luke Reed song. I think it just says it so well.
Well, I tell you, his dad, Luke, you can't write this stuff if you don't know it. I mean, you can get by with some of that stuff, but old Luke, man, he's dead on, and it's because he's lived it. He was born in Ringling, Oklahoma. His mom, have you heard that song, that Quarter Circle Y of Reds?
Yes.
Well, Luke helped him write that, and that's actually the motivation behind that was Luke's mom and dad. They did live on a dugout in the Quarter Circle Y, and his dad was something else. If you look at that album that he put out, inside that cover is a picture of his dad riding a bronc at, I believe it was San Antonio, and heck, he was on up there. When
you know what I noticed about that picture is there's still a horn on that saddle.
Yeah.
And here's Red Steagall and Luke Reed's Quarter Circle Y.
She could hear him whistling Dixie long before he came in sight, as he rode up through the horse track at the same time every night. They were starting out together, a young cowboy and his bride, in a dugout on the quarter circle wide. He could smell her apple cobbler when he topped the canyon rim. He smiled inside and wondered what she ever saw in him. She traded dreams of mansions and a pampered way of life for a dugout on the quarter circle wide. They never had much money, they were happy just the same. They were proud to have each other and to share his family name. Their children grew and prospered, we all moved away in time from the dugout on the quarter circle wide. When northern winds would blow the snow and howl for days on end, it only drew them closer, they became the best of friends. After 50 years together, they were more than man and wife. They were happy on the quarter circle wide. After all that time as partners, now she faced her toughest test. We buried him last Sunday in his favorite woolen vest. With grandkids gathered round her, she remembered magic times in a dugout on the quarter circle wide. They never had much money, they were happy just the same. They were proud to have each other and to share his family name. Their children grew and prospered, we all moved away in time from the dugout on the quarter circle wide. After 50 years together, they were more than man and wife. They were happy on the quarter circle wide.
That's from Red Steagall's fine album, Love of the West. And there we were, a couple of us old cowboys, Jay Snyder and me, along with a fine young hand, Kevin Davis. And, of course, we were talking horses. You noticed, maybe both of you have, it seems to me that the horsemanship generally on the big outfits and even on some of the smaller ranches these days is just so much better than it was 15 or 20 years ago. I mean, these horses are soft, they're through the process, they're in the bridle, they flex and give, and a lot of them are up into reins and romal and fancy Spanish bits, but they're working properly in these bits, and boy, it's nice to see.
Oh, yeah. I write a lot of songs about horses and this breaking them and things like that, but I was telling them last night before I played this song, I said, you know, things have changed, and I've been really rough with horses before, and have had some that sure could have been a heck of a lot more than they were. But now with this pressure and release thing and you know, give and take, it's just a great deal for them. It gives a horse a better chance, and it makes them willing. Yeah. You can watch them old horses lick their lips when they figure out, boy, and they're just ready. They're ready to do what you want. And, boy, you can really make a friend. I mean, when you got a horse that's wanting to do something, you got something there. And there's getting to be a lot of them.
Yeah. It's a big learning curve for us old guys, but I had to learn to back off a little bit once I'd gone through something, give that horse a minute or two to let that digest, let that settle.
Oh, yeah. That's, you know, and it's been really good for me as a dad. You don't realize you learn that stuff, and it'll change you as a person, how you are with people. You'll have a little bit more patience. But like my son, I've tried to teach him from the get-go that pressure and release deal, like you was talking. The minute that your horse does what you want it to, you get off of him. I mean, completely. Whatever he's doing, if you get out of his mouth or off his sides or whatever, the minute he does what you want, and then he'll figure out, you know, here we go, oh, yeah, here's what he wants. And
it's maybe just like you say, that little lick and chew or that aisle blink or something like that.
Ears.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much that and there's nothing wrong with people missing out on them. 'Cause heck, I missed. I'm tell you right now, I am nowhere near the horseman I wished I was. But the more you ride, the more you're on them horses, the better it is for you, and the better it is for them. And you'll get better just like they will. But you'll notice things like when people first start out or working them horses, they'll wait for a movement or something, and that's not always the case. Or I'm talking about their barrel. They'll flick that ear, or just the way their ears are laid, or their eyes or head. Just there's so much that you can just watch for, and once you key in on it, you'll see that they're understanding. I mean, they can't talk.
Well, now that we're kind of on a roll, we'll just carry this conversation on in just a little while, and Jay Snyder will join us. And Baxter Black will be here when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan with a little peek at the producer meeting. What holds the loaded 30,000-pound trailer to the heavy-duty truck? What holds the 38-foot RV trailer to the dually? What holds the 2-horse trailer with your daughter's favorite pony to the half-ton pickup? Well, the odds are it's a B&W trailer hitch, probably a turnover bowl, American-made, employee-owned, customer-tuned, and proud of their part in America's greatness. B&W, holding things together down the road. Company reps, ag salesmen, exude a certain tension, which is understandable. They have the job security of a smoke jumper. A big part of their regular duties is producer meetings. Well, some of these meetings go well, and others prove that masochism builds character. John works for a big pharmaceutical company that sells veterinary products. He arranged with the manager of a good-sized feedlot to put on a meeting for the cowboys and the vet crew. A local steakhouse was selected as an appropriate location for the meeting. Supper and drinks were furnished as bait. A good crowd of 18 or 20 showed up for the meeting. No separate room was available, but the maitre d' had set up a single long table that ran the length of the room, wall to wall, down the center of the dining area. John set his movie screen against the back wall at the end of the table. The slide projector sat in the middle of the table, between the attentive cowboys. John began his presentation. He started with lung diseases. Pictures of fulminating pleuritis glared from the screen, attracting the attention of random diners. Presently, an incidental customer walked between the projector and the screen, excusing himself politely as his shadow darted across a rather explicit slide of chronic suppurative pneumonia. As John was soon to discover, he lay in the direct and only path to the restrooms. Well, the wayfarer returned, tripping over the projector cord, which gave everyone a moment's respite from the pulmonary contagion. Just as John segued into injection site abscesses, he was interrupted by the waitress, who stepped into the spotlight and asked, "Who ordered the scotch and water?" Then, in the midst of his discussion on rumen physiology, a group from the other side of the room broke into song. It was "Happy Anniversary to You," dedicated to a couple celebrating 58 years of wedded bliss. Happy Anniversary, methane to you, is released along with "Yay! Excuse me, I gotta go to John." "Sure." Carbon dioxide. "Any questions?" "Yeah. Who ordered the 2 whiskey sours and the Bud Light?" On the drive home, John commented to his boss, "Well, all in all, it wasn't too bad a meeting." "Yeah," the boss said, "but they might have missed some of the details." This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by B&W Turnover Bowl.
How about a weekend pass to the 21st Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 16th to 19th, 2017. A terrific lineup of entertainers, including Kevin Davis.
Early morning finds me out along the Great Divide. I stop and watch the prairie come alive.
Jay Snyder.
Imagine you're a cowboy, and breaking colts is what you do, and you've honed your skills for years and years, and other cowboys look up to you.
The one and only Ben Crane.
Hailing me with checking cows in Saskatchewan, Sandy Hill.
And so many more. There's the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, evening concerts, a wonderful art and gear show, the Art of the West show and sale, workshops, and everything from guitar playing to saddle making. The best place to get all the details is bcchs.com. And for tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. On the growing list of working cowboys who are really getting good at writing and singing their own original songs, two guys have done extremely well recently. Ryan Fritz, who will be at the Texas Cowboy Gathering along with Kevin Davis in a couple of weeks, and Matt Robertson, who will be at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival next month. And here's another one from Matt's latest and finest album.
Cinch my rig on a bucking horse, and he kicks and fights. I feel a familiar feeling coming on. I push it back one more time, 'cause I've been doing this way too long. Broken bones and opportunities I've missed remind me that I had dreams when I was young. And someday I'd find glory. I never dreamed it would come to this. And someday I'd be too old to carry on. And the trail left by a falling star is gone in an instant. It only shines so brightly for so long. And as I hold my thoughts together and I climb into the saddle, I hear the latch slide open and I'm gone. Cut my teeth on a bucking horse when I was 14. Though I landed hard, you know, I never cried. Just wiped the blood from my face and I got up again. Mama feared that look in my eyes. Leaving work behind me, sleeping at the wheel. I did not eat so I could pay my fees. St. Peter walked on water, and I can ride this road hurricane. I keep telling myself that I just gotta believe. And the trail left by a falling star is gone in an instant. It only shines so brightly for so long. And as I hold my thoughts together and I climb into the saddle, I hear the latch slide open and I'm gone. There's a pole corral on a sagebrush flat, I see it in my mind. Dust rises high into the sky, where a cowboy's working horse in the hot desert sun. He throws his rope as a roan runs by, and the trail left by a falling star is gone in an instant. It only shines so brightly for so long. And as I pull my thoughts together and I climb into the saddle, I hear the latch slide open and I'm gone. And as I climb into the saddle and I feel him breathe beneath me, I hear the latch slide open and I'm gone.
The news of the rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
At the top of page 1, there's some interesting numbers coming out regarding U.S. feedlot placements. They're running about 15% ahead of a year ago. And with more, here's Gary Crawford.
USDA economist Sanika Heron says that 15% seems high, but first, remember placements were relatively low a year ago. Plus,
feeder cattle prices have been lower here, so that could have been an incentive to place more cattle.
Feedlots keeping fairly current, marketing just under 1.8 million head, leaving feedlot inventories December 1st 10.7 million head, 1% below a year ago. Meanwhile, fed cattle prices have been staging a little rally in the last few weeks, but Heron says with beef production expected to grow,
we are anticipating prices to be under pressure, as
falling from about $121 a hundredweight average this year to about $107 next year. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
Another cow herd has tested positive for bovine tuberculosis. The newly identified herd is in Franklin County, Indiana. Health officials have placed the herd under quarantine in an existing 10-mile surveillance zone, but Indiana will not lose its TB-free status thanks to the terms of a federal order issued in 2010. A company calling itself Autonomous Tractor Corp. is now marketing a driverless system so that tractors can perform all normal field work with the added benefit of energy-efficient diesel-electric power. Today, for about $10,000 US, the North Dakota company will add its fully autonomous control system to an existing tractor that's already been converted from conventional diesel mechanical drive to its eDrive diesel-electric system. The system, called Auto Drive, can be installed only on an eDrive tractor, and it shouldn't be confused with Auto Steer, which requires an operator in the cab at all times. Auto Drive allows a tractor to operate when the cab is vacant. The operator can be on a second or third machine, mapping the next field or managing the tender vehicles, or maybe back in the house checking Facebook. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario has commissioned the use of drones to watch horse races in Canada, and that's a first in North America, to keep jockeys from breaking the rules. The first trial was at a kart racing qualifying race where no spectators or betting was allowed. The trial proceeded with only minor problems of a sketchy internet connection, so the drone's memory cards were then taken to the judges for review, and then they announced the winners. The drivers didn't notice the drone, and the horses didn't seem to notice either, and the footage, they said, was pretty encouraging. Have you ever had the feeling that your horse is silently telling you to bring out the treat jar for him? Well, he very well may have done that based on the findings of researchers in Japan. They learned it during a study that was published last month in the Journal of American Cognition, Animal Cognition. Using 8 horses from Kobe University's equestrian lab, researchers performed an experiment to find out how horses would solve a problem that required the help of their human caretakers. And ScienceDaily.com explains how the experiment took place. First, the researchers placed carrots in a bucket inaccessible to the horses. Then a human caretaker would arrive. The researchers observed that the horses displayed certain behaviors that could be interpreted as asking a human for help, standing near the human, looking at them, touching them, and even pushing them. They did these things more frequently than in a control group where no carrots were hidden. Heck, Lucky's been doing that to me for a lot of years. Well, there's regular cattle sales every Wednesday, 2 horse sales a month, as well at the Innisfail auction market. And Saturday, February 17th, it's the P&H Charolais Bull and Ranch Gelding Sale. Get all the information at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com. And on March the 4th, the big prime time and cutting-edge bull sale at the BC Livestock Co-op yards in Williams Lake. For more information, just see bclivestock.bc.ca. And that takes us down to the final item. Our dentist, good guy and a fine horseman, competes in cutting and working cow horse competitions, ridden a few miles with him. Dr. Dave ran out of anesthetic just before the last extraction for the day was scheduled, so he gave his nurse a very large needle, instructing her to jab it hard into the patient's butt when he gave the signal, so it would take the patient's attention away from the tooth being pulled. And it all happened pretty quick. The nurse, the patient, and the pliers were all in place. The signal was given, and the nurse bayoneted the patient with the needle just as good old Dr. Dave yanked the tooth out. And afterwards he said, "Well, did it hurt much?" And the patient kind of hesitated. Then he said, "Well, I didn't hardly feel it come out. But man, those roots were really deep." And that's the Rangeland News. Coming right up on the horse training file, we'll look at the problem of a horse that can't seem to stand still for the rider to get on. More from Kevin Davis and Jay Snyder when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Coming right up on the Irvine Saddles and Tack horse training file, I'll look at several ways to help your horse stand still when you get on. And we'll get right to that after Kevin Davis does one of our favorite songs written by Johnny Kendrick. And I was so taken with this song that we recorded it on the Creak of the Leather CD a while back. And this is Kevin's version of Echoes of the Trail.
There's an old coyote wailing as the starlight paints
sky. There's a western breeze that's singing a cowboy lullaby. When the cattle start to settle underneath the night herd's way, and those ghostly riders rumble, that's the echoes of the trail. From the canyons of Nevada to the blue Dakota grass, way across the wide Missouri and beyond the Beartooth Pass, came the Longhorns and the Drovers, then the Pilgrims and the Rays. Destiny displaced the red man, leaving echoes of the trail. Well away, you old coyote, those city lights make stars shine pale. We will gather to remember and hear echoes of the trail. They say the good old days are over and better days have come and gone, but there'll always be a cowboy telling stories, singing songs, riding circle on a good horse, doing his best job without fail. Who will watch the fading sunset, hearing echoes of the trail? Well away, you old coyote, those city lights make stars shine pale. We will gather to remember and hear echoes of the trail. We will gather to remember and hear echoes of the trail.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Experience the true spirit of the West at Canada's largest Western store, Irvine Tack and Western Wear. If you need a curb strap or a 4-star gooseneck trailer, you'll find it here. A saddle for every rider. Cutters, reiners, penners, trainers, working ranch cowboys, ropers. They have over 1,200 in stock. And they have Western wear for the entire family. And how about a gift card? Shop online at irvinesaddles.ca. Free shipping on orders of over $100. irvinesaddle.ca, 1-877-946-9494. Well, I've had several questions from different riders this week, but basically they relate to the same problem. Here are the complaints. My horse moves off when I try to get on. My horse swings his body away from me when I'm trying to get up on his back. My horse starts to walk backwards when I'm trying to get on. As soon as I put my foot in the stirrup, my horse starts to move before I swing my leg over. Well, all of these problems relate mostly to a horse anticipating moving ahead or away as soon as they feel your foot in the stirrup. The time to deal with it is just before he starts to move. Now, if I'm working on a pretty well-broke horse that does this, as soon as my foot's in the stirrup, I'll just step down and from the ground untrack his hindquarters, move them around 2 or 3 times and let him stand. Often that'll work to where we can have him stand still when our foot goes in the stirrup, but often the next complaint is, he moves off before I can get my leg over the cantle. So sometimes I'll just stand at his left shoulder and bounce up and down until he's standing still. And as soon as he stands, I'll stop bouncing. And now as I get ready to mount, I want both reins in my left hand along with a handful of mane. And I'll grab the horn with my right hand, and I'll make sure I have the reins just tight enough that I can check him as soon as I feel him get ready to move, even if my leg is on the way up. Now, it can take a little practice to coordinate this, but boy, that really helps. Now, the horse I'm trying to get on is not really big or solid. It's important to make sure that he's standing square before I step up. Otherwise, it's easy to pull him off balance, so I'll do what I call square him up first. To do this, I'll just take a hold of the saddle horn while I'm standing on the ground and kind of push it and pull it until he squares his feet up and gets himself ready to stand. And then when he's standing still while I get on, I'll just sit there for, quite a few seconds or maybe a minute or two and move around in the saddle, stroke his neck a little bit before I ask him to move off. Hope this helps. I know something that really does help. That's that daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration. Our horses really do well on it. You can find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. And that's the horse training file for Irvine Saddles and Western Wear. Mark your calendar for Ulrich Herford's 11th annual bull sale, Tuesday, February 21st, 1 p.m. at Baylog Auction, Lethbridge, Alberta. On offer, approximately 50 top-quality bulls, and you can see them at ulrichherfords.com. These bulls are the sons of industry leaders, and for more information, call Peter, 403-625-1036. That number again, 403-625-1036. Ulrich Hereford, specializing in light birth weights with great performance plus remarkable cows. That's February 21st, 1 p.m. at Baylog Auction, Lethbridge, Alberta. When Jay Snyder and Kevin Davis and I were having a visit a while back, Jay commented on how, in general, ranch horses have gotten a lot better in recent years.
Sometimes, especially the bloodlines that they've got now, the better bred horses than what we used to have, 30 years ago. They've got the cow sense bred in them, and the bloodlines are just seem somewhat better than they were. Sometimes I know in my horses, sometimes if I'll just get out of their way, they'll pretty much learn it on their own, But we've got horses now that have enough sense that you just show them one time, a lot of times, and they'll know, and then you just kind of have to stay out of their way.
I really don't think you ever are going to quit learning from them. You'll just never, or me, I will never get to be as good as I would like to be, but I'm going to keep trying. But those old horses are just like, I was talking about them old cowboys. If a young man will come and listen to them and not act like he knows it all, they're going to learn a lot, and them guys will really help them. I'll tell you, flat out, them horses will teach you. A horse will teach you. You're there working together, but if you'll be easy and pay attention to what's going on, you're going to learn from every horse.
Kevin, Jay, thank you so much for dropping by the Spirit of the West here. It's just great to visit with you, and I hope our trails cross somewhere real soon.
And our paths will cross. I'll stay in touch with you.
Super. Thanks, Jay.
You bet, Hugh. Good to see you.
You too. Enjoy the Kamloops Cowboy Festival without the worry of winter driving. Frontier Buck Lines will leave Central Alberta March 16th and return on March 20th. There'll be great entertainment on board, and the package includes luxury motor coach transportation, 4 nights accommodation at the Coast Hotel and Conference Center in Kamloops, $15 daily meal coupon, 1 transfer to the Horse Barn, weekend pass to the Cowboy Festival, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday dinner and entertainment at the Convention Center. For more information, call 1-888-538-7287. I think we have time for one more song from Kevin Davis, and this one's called Keeping the Old West Alive.
He sits in the saddle, all weathered and lean. He's a real working cowboy, the best I've seen. His hat loose and sweat stained, pushed back on his head, as a dusty reminder of the life he has led. His cheek slack and hollow, except when in use. On the frequent occasions he'll have him a chew. From dust bowls to range fires, he's about seen it all, and he mixes a quick wit with a slow Texas drawl. It seems like he came out some other time, before the nuisance of fences and the railroads decline. The Comanche ruled the plains and the buffalo thrive. Now he's stubbornly keeping the old West alive. Must have been in the 70s when he hired on to foreman West Texas ranch I call home. I watched him and Dad work and sweat side by side till the prices fell too low and the bills got too high. It seems like he came out some other time, before the nuisance of fences and the railroads decline. The Comanche ruled the plains and the buffalo thrive. Now he's stubbornly keeping the old West alive. Now these days when friendship is often too much to ask, he was there for my family when my daddy passed. I may not be an expert, oh, but it seems to me he's a living example of what a cowboy should be. And it seems like he came out some other time, before the nuisance of fences and the railroads decline. The Comanche ruled the plains and the buffalo thrive. Now he's stubbornly keeping the old West alive. He sits in the saddle, all weathered and lean. He's a real working cowboy, the best I have seen.
Next, we have a classic song of the West and some really interesting history about the song, and then Jeff Dawson in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Time for another old classic song of the West and a little information about the song, and this one is another one that started out as a poem from Curly Fletcher, who of course was the author of the famous Strawberry Roan. Not sure what it was with Curly and Roan horses. Boy, I've ridden lots of Roans. Most of them are real nice. I have one now, in fact. Anyhow, this song was actually the theme of a movie made in 1935 called Stormy. And I found an old lobby poster that described the movie this way: over 1,000 horses in a wild stampede. And the original Arizona Wranglers did this song in the movie. They were a 5-man group, and when they performed on stage, they all wore batwing chaps and 6 guns in their holsters. And there's some confusion about who actually wrote the song. Some historians credit to Harry Jackson, who recorded it in the 1920s. In any case, it's a great story, and near the end of the song, a good cowboy loses a pretty good saddle. I love this version of the Ridge Runnin' Roan from Randy Holler.
I was out on the Badlands wrangling alone when I heard of a cayuse, a red running roan. He was fleet as a deer and tough as a mule, pretty as a picture and nobody's fool. I go right to work and I gets me a pair of the best saddle horses that ever wore hair. I hunts up that Mustang, I camped on his trail. When he takes to the ridges, he packins the mail. He stays on the ridges as wise as a fox. He like an old goat when he gets in the rocks. I trails him till dark and at dawn I begin. Oh, I'm getting weary, my horses get thin. I stay by his track till I get stiff and sore. He stay way out front where he makes 20 more. No time to water and no time to graze. I camped on his trail for 17 days. I starts into corrallin' and turns him around. He quits the high ridges and he goes to low ground. I build me a loop when he gets to the flat, and I throws my old lasso, she fits like a hat. I takes him to camp and into the corral, and I feeds him some oats and some hay for a spell. He gets fat and strong and I give him the news. I hog-tied him down and I tacked on some shoes. I throws on my saddle, I screws her down tight, then I crawls to his middle and he goes on the fight. He's mad as a hornet and sure seeing red. When I goes to some fishing, then I plumb lost my head. I'm doing my best and I'm just getting by. He's doing much better than a blot in his eye. I think I'm on top of a hurricane deck where an earthquake and a cyclone is having a wreck. Then he hits with a jar that sure gave me a scare. I'm away up above him, but I don't know just where. And riding brat horses, I'm no cripple squaw. He showed me some tricks that I ain't never saw. Of all the old fuzztails that I've ever rode, there's nothing here like him, he seemed to explode. I gyrate and jump, he just leaves the corral, and I makes a big hole in the ground where I fell. Now the last time I saw him, he's crossing the bridge. He's a hightailing back to his favorite ridge. I'm hunting my saddle, I'm on my own. My riggin' run off with that ridge running road. I'm all busted up and I'm still sore and lame. That ridge running roan will never be tame. Take my advice and just leave him alone. You won't have no luck with that ridge running roan.
Okay, and now with another good one, here's Jeff Dawson in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight.
You can feel it in your heart as you ride across the plain. It's that deep down inside feeling that no words could ne'er explain. But you know it when it hits you like a norther blowing in, 'cause you can't contain emotions or the goosebumps on your skin. They say cowboy's in your blood, and for some of us that's true, but I've seen hands graft onto it and make good punchers through and through. As you're setting up a horseback and a staring out for miles like a preacher, it's your calling, the only thing that fits your style. Things affect you different when a punchin's what you do, like the smell of horse sweat leather or spring morning's glistening dew. You can tell a cow's direction before she ever takes a step, or a prairie fire's intentions just before she gets windswept. Your instincts all come natural like the cow sense in your horse, and all the things God gives you, you're sure thankful for, of course. You trade this life for nothing. As the years lope right on by, you've no regrets, no worries, no hard feelings to rectify. So you just keep right on punching, be it ride or rope or brand, and know you'll join the big outfit the day you reach the promised land.
Well, thank you so much for making the ride this week, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. Thanks again to our great support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan, and you can see Mark's new tractor parts page at www.bctractorparts.com. If you're looking for tractor parts at a great price, he can sure help you. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.